Thorne Dickerson, Pat Bostic, Nicholas Harry Cows here with you on the Fan Morning Show. The Fan Hotline presented by Sullivan Super Service, Pittsburgh's trusted plumbing and HVAC provider for over 50 years. And joining us on the Fan Hotline right now is our pal, Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. Ray, how's everything going? How's your morning? It's a nice day out.
It's going good. Glad to be with you, Pat. I don't normally get to go on with you.
Ray, it's a pleasure and an honor, my friend.
Ray, we obviously know what the elephant is in the room, and it is Mike Tomlin's 3-year contract extension. He spoke yesterday. Your initial thoughts, is it deserved, is my question. Did he deserve 3 years of an extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, Dorn, I think that's the issue. For me, why the 3-year term? You know, if everyone is concerned, and Art Rooney himself said he was concerned about the lack of playoff success, I think, you know, I'm paraphrasing him here. I think he said it's time to start winning in the playoffs again. Why give Mike 3 years? Why not do a 1 or a 2-year deal? But obviously, you know, the message from ownership in the front office is that, you know, we're satisfied with the job Mike is doing. We believe he's the guy who's going to lead us, you know, out of this. So, yeah, I think it was deserved. I think he's a good coach, but I'm really not quite sure why the 3-year term. Maybe that was Mike himself saying, hey, I want, you know, more security here. I don't know what the deal was there, but the length surprised me.
You know, Ray, Dorn and I were talking earlier about obviously this does signify Art II's confidence in Mike Tomlin. Do you think there, though, is a difference of operation, a rebalancing of power with Omar Khan now as GM? Are the day-to-day different? Is Mike Tomlin's influence any less than it was before when it comes to drafts, off-season, things of that nature?
I don't think so. You know, I think the power structure is still the same. You know, Mike Tomlin reports to Art Rooney, Omar Khan reports to Art Rooney. You know, it's, you know, some different organizations, maybe the GM has more oversight over the head coach, but that's not the way it is here. You know, the head coach and the GM, you know, work in concert during the off season. They're together a lot on the road at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine. They're making these joint decisions on the draft and which direction they want to go in the off season with free agents. So I don't think that is any different, Pat. You know, I think the Steelers' power structure is always going to remain the same. And, you know, I think Mike, as long as Mike is here, whether it was with Kevin Colbert or now with Omar and Andy Weidel, he is going to be deeply involved in the personnel decisions, both in season and out of season. That's just the way it's been for quite some time. I don't see that changing.
Right. I mean, we know that Mike Tomlin doesn't like to show his cards ever. I mean, you speak to him almost every single week and really every single week during the season. But from being around in the atmosphere, and I think I asked you this in the beginning of OTAs, but where they're at now, and, you know, OTAs is a grind. It's not the grind of training camp. It's not the grind of a season, but everything is new. And there are new pieces that are a part of the Steelers. Arthur Smith being one. You got a new wide receivers coach, got a new quarterback coach. Is there a difference in Mike Tomlin? Not with the contract or anything, because he really probably doesn't care about that. He's like, listen, I'm here to coach ball, and that's all I want to do. But do you feel it different in the atmosphere whenever you go to practice and you go to mini camp and the OTAs in the last month?
You know, I don't see a difference in Mike really at all, Dorn. I'll tell you the different type of vibe I'm getting down there this summer. And I was in on an interview with TJ Watt yesterday. Excuse me. And, you know, he's coming up on some milestones in his career, you know, 100 sacks. He's pretty close to it. And, you know, he was asked about the importance of that. He says, you know what, the number that is important to me is 0 playoff wins. And that reverberates throughout that locker room. And I thought it was interesting. You guys read that prepared statement the Steelers put out when Mike signed his contract. I thought it was kind of odd that in Art's statement, he came out and said, you know, he acknowledged the lack of playoff success. So to me, you know, it's usually kind of a more laid back vibe, you know, this part of the schedule, you know, OTAs and mini camp, and then you ramp up to the season. But we're in June and they're still already, they're already talking about the playoffs and getting there this year. So it's playoffs or bust. That's going to be a big storyline throughout the season. And it's first and foremost in almost every veteran's mind down there. And obviously it's on the mind of the owner and the team president as well.
Talking to the Post Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo on the Fan. And Ray, minicamp underway, mandatory minicamp. What do you expect the rep distribution to be between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? I mean, the offseason chatter is, people want to see Fields, but I believe Russell Wilson gives them the best chance to win. Does he get all the one reps, or do you expect a split?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be like a 50-50 split, like a real competition type of thing. I think Russell is, as Mike says, is in pole position, and he will be given every opportunity to hang on to that pole position. So he's in the lead right now, and I don't know what percentages. They obviously want to get Justin work. They want to take a look at him, but I don't know, 65-35, something like that. Kyle Allen will get a few reps as well. This is not, unless Russell plays really bad in the preseason, this isn't going to be much of a competition at all. He's the starter. And Pat, I agree with you. I think his leadership, his ability to protect the football, something Justin Fields hasn't done early in his career. There's a reason Russell Wilson is here. He's the best quarterback that could help this team win, given the state of the defense and where they are right now with the offense being a run-based offense under Arthur Smith.
Fan Hotline presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. Ray, I heard Mike Tomlin talk about and was asked a question about Cam Sutton, which was going to be obviously asked yesterday, and how they needed to do their due diligence about the whole situation. And, rightfully so. It's a very tender situation. And Mike Tomlin went on to say, paraphrasing here, that, we know Cam Sutton, known him for 7 years, know what he can bring to the table. In your opinion, does that make the Steelers' defense better, or do they still need to go and find another corner?
Oh, it definitely makes the Steelers' defense better, Dorn, because if you look at Cam Sutton, I think when he had his most success here, I didn't think he was bad the year or two he played outside corner for the Steelers, but he was at his best when the Steelers moved him around. He could play in the slot, move him back to safety, play him at outside corner if you need him. And he's going to be in that exact same role with the Steelers this year. He's going to be a sub-package defender. He's not going to be relied upon to be that outside corner that he was with the Lions, where he was, let's call it like it is. He was exposed a little bit. So, yes, they are going to be better. I think he's a good add for the slot. But to me, when I look at the secondary, I think they're set with their starters now. Who's your number one backup at outside corner? Who's your number one backup at slot corner? Let's say there's an injury to Joey Porter. Let's say Cam Sutton has to move outside. Who's your slot? The Darius Rush and Corey Trice are intriguing guys. They're big, they're long, they're everything the Steelers covet in an outside corner, but they have little experience. So that's another ad that could happen in training camp. If Trice and Rush maybe aren't ready for that role, maybe they pick up somebody at the waiver wire. But, with the addition of Sutton, they are inching closer to getting all of their offseason needs straightened out. The big one, obviously, is number 2 receiver, and we'll see what happens with that later in the summer.
On your chat yesterday, Ray, which is always fascinating, some of the questions you get, I get a chuckle out of some of them, but you take them in stride, my man. There was a question, and I thought it was interesting, and we got an All-American tight end in the room. You said you don't think the Steelers will keep 4 tight ends on the roster because they really don't have a second passing threat outside of Freiermuth. They signed Pruitt.
Right.
You don't see a world in which they keep 4 on the roster?
Well, they did last season after there were some injuries and Rodney Williams came on, and Rodney was a great special teams player. So, they could do it again, but, what kind of value do you have with having 4 tight ends on the roster? To me, that's a luxury item. And it's kind of, when I look at it, you're right. You don't have that top backup to Pat Freiermuth. You have an H-back in Connor Hayward. You have a blocking tight end in Darnell Washington. I think Pruitt can do it all, but, I don't think he's great at any one thing. So I think they might have to choose there. They could keep 4, but you're going to keep Patterson as well. You're going to keep 3 running backs. seems like they're going to keep a bunch of receivers the way they brought those guys in. So there's only so many roster spots. I think keeping 4 tight ends would be a luxury in my mind. But we'll see how it works out. You know, they got 6 or 8 weeks to figure this out, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Ray. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy today.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
See you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.